Hi everybody, Beth here from Access Paranormal for this week's I Want to Know, which is all about using paranormal investigation equipment versus using mediums in paranormal investigations. Now you're probably thinking they're two completely different things, but a lot of investigators tend to use them both as some sort of a detecting sort of way in which to find out whether or not there could be something happening that could be paranormal or something from the afterlife. Hi Anne, good to see you, beautiful. So it was a really great question that was sent in via Facebook not that long ago, so thank you to that person for sending that question in. It is, I guess you could say it's almost a semi-hotly debated type of topic because there are investigators that are very pro using mediums and psychics, and then there are some that are very anti-using them, or you'll find teams that are very much using both paranormal investigation equipment and or mediums. Hi Karen. So it's yeah, they'll find teams that'll be either one very much so. There are teams that are very much about equipment, teams that aren't so much as well. So it depends on what the intention. I think it's great to have a variety of different reasons why we look at the possibility of investigating the afterlife. So I think it's good to have a good cross section of both. Hi Kaz, good to see you, beautiful. But it was interesting because when I had posted this, oh hi Karina, when I posted this question, there was a comment that came through from a guy called Nate, who I know, and I thought I would read it out anyway, and just say it was interesting anyway. So I'll read it out. It says, spiritual is just way too subjective. Science says if something is there, it is there, not just for those with superpowers. And those with superpowers can't prove the existence of anything paranormal to others, so it's pretty useless. So there is, you know, I know that Nate works within the paranormal somewhat, I guess you could say. And he's, you know, he brings up a good point. Science says that, you know, because the afterlife hasn't been proven, then why are we using mediums at all? You know, it's pretty useless. But people have had experiences. There are people that have claimed abilities. Information does come through that is interesting. There's always research when it comes to regarding parapsychology with regards to the consciousness surviving outside the body. So although he makes a valid point, I still think it's too early to say whether or not there is not, you know, any proof in the sense of the possibility of consciousness living outside the body. So I think it's really important for me as an investigator to be open to both using mediums or psychics, and of course the possibility of using paranormal investigation equipment, which I will actually give a few tips on how to do and or use that as well. Hi Roz. Hey Mandy. So firstly we'll get into it. So we're looking at from a paranormal investigation techniques type stuff. So we're going to look at the advantages of using paranormal investigation equipment. I know it seems bleedingly obvious to some, but I'll mention them anyway. Everyone can see the results. So if you're using paranormal investigation equipment, everyone is actually seeing the results of the group getting together. Everybody can participate as well. So everyone's got a say in it, and it can be different types of equipment being used, but it's more of a collaborative thing. It's not very much of a solo thing. So that's one of the many strong advantages of that. Also, data collection when it comes to the results that are actually coming up regarding something like this is a lot more accurate. So you're going to get a reading, you're going to see the reading itself. You know, it can be more accurate saying, you know, so it's 5 milligauss or 10 milligauss. You're going to know, you're going to physically see it there. Sometimes with mediumship, it may not be so. And I'll talk a little bit about that later as to why that may possibly be the case. So there's a couple of advantages there. As I said, it's pretty obvious and why a lot of teams do use paranormal investigation equipment. Disadvantages can sometimes be that you're not going to get the emotion that someone had gone through when they passed away. If that's what you're looking for, you're not going to get you know how what they like to eat. You know, there's really specific human things that only equipment can't really pick up on. It's very data. It's very more like if there's a presence or not. Sometimes you can get questioning with audio recordings. Again, they can also be really hard to sometimes listen to as well. We'll talk about that soon. But yeah, when it comes to actually verifying, you know, the results can just be that little bit more accurate in that way. So you're not going to, you know, you're also going to get not another point being, you know, dates and times with a medium. You're actually going to be able to have a better idea of, instead of just listening out going, I think that said 1820. A medium will say, their name's John Smith, they died in 1820, they were born in the 1700s, you're going to get information that is not, oh, I don't know if that is right or what that was. I can actually take that away and then go verify it later. So that can also be a plus with using a possible medium and or psychic with that. Obviously, with mediums, there's also going to be help with actually setting up where equipment is. So we used to do this in a previous team I was involved with as well, where we wouldn't say anything to the medium as they were walking through. And after they've done the walkthrough, we say, all right, where do you feel is going to be most active? And it was also good if we were dealing with a private case as well, so private, whether or not it verifies with the activity happening in the home. And they would say, well, actually, I feel like there's a lot of sounds that get heard over here because that's, I feel the energy is most. So we're like, right, well, we'll put some lot of audio recorders there. It really does help. It's almost like another detection device, being human sort of thing. So I find that's equally as advantageous using a medium and or psychic. Now I say medium and or psychic, there is difference with either one. Medium being someone who can pick up information coming directly through from spirit, and psychic being somebody who can pick up information directly from another person. So sometimes there are people that claim to have both abilities, some more than one, some more than the other as well. Disadvantages of using a medium would be you're relying on one person's recount of what happened at that particular location. From what I've heard with mediumship is that it's very individual. So if someone's picking up information and saying, I'm seeing somebody being stabbed, I see lots of blood, someone can turn around and say, well, no, there was no stabbing. I don't see a stabbing. I see somebody dying of a heart attack. So sometimes it can be whatever information is presented to that person they're meant to know and be able to convey, and it can be very different from medium to medium as well. So that's something to keep in mind too. You could have 4 different mediums going through one location. They could all tell you something very different. Doesn't mean they're wrong. It just means the information provided to them is what was meant to be given to them. So that's something to keep in mind too. You may only be getting one sort of section of that particular thing. Also, like Nate kind of mentioned, as I said in the beginning, so I've been on investigations where people or a team can be really reliant on the medium for pretty much everything. So that can be equipment placement, verifying whether something is there. I mean, you could be in a room and it could be actively quiet, and then the medium says, oh, look, I don't feel anything here. So people kind of just start to pack up stuff and go into another room. And it just feels like it's almost driven by this one person's ability to sense anything. And sometimes that can be a disadvantage because it's often when it shouldn't be surrounded about the one person. It should be about finding whether or not something is there and there to add to it, not to actually be the focus of it. So I've seen that happen a couple of times. That can sometimes be a disadvantage as well. Now, in this particular question, I know that this gorgeous person had asked what my tips were with regards to paranormal investigation equipment and or using psychic mediums for investigating. The first thing I would probably say is I would use paranormal investigation equipment to detect the changes in the environment. I don't necessarily use it as a way to detect if there's a spirit around or not. Due to my method of the fact that, you know, technically spirits haven't been proven yet, but obviously people are having experiences, something's going on. But I personally prefer to use the equipment to use to detect environmental changes. So whether it's EMF fluctuations, and we're talking milligauss here, so it has to be a significant number in order for someone to be constantly feeling paranoid and like they're being watched. If someone's feeling static feeling, if there's static around, if there's, you know, wiring, all this kind of stuff. So there is all types of equipment that can help verify what, you know, level of that type of thing is happening within the environment. So I would tend to use paranormal investigation equipment for more detecting environmental changes as opposed to detecting a potential entity of some sort. You have to trust the medium. And that's exactly it too, Kaz. That was actually going to be my next point. Use a medium you can trust. You just jumped right in there, lovely. That's the next thing too. Use a medium you can trust. There are lots of great people out there that have a really good sense about what happens, about the possibility of us passing on. But then there are some that are still just learning, or there's some that don't have the same intent about being involved in the paranormal. So you find one that you have to trust. This information is stuff that you're going to in some way rely on. They have to be confident in their ability. Paranormal mediumship is very different to your normal mediumship. I know some people think, no, it's completely the same. It absolutely is not. Key things is the fact that you're going to probably be dealing with things that are a lot more gruesome than Aunt Maud coming through and telling you that she loves you. Also at the same time, you're going to be put on the spot when it comes to wanting dates, times and numbers and facts that we can go back and actually check whether or not that actually happened there, and that's something that has happened. So it's a very different pace, it's a very different vibe when it comes to paranormal investigations with mediums. So finding one you can trust is a very, very good point. I've only worked with very few in the past. I'm actually really quite picky with the mediums I do work with for this very reason. And again, it's not something where you could actually go and investigate with a particular medium for one investigation and go, yep, they're legit. It's the same with finding out whether a place could possibly be haunted or not. You're not going to find that information out most of the time in one night. It's going to take repeatable times. Give that person time to be able to see them work in all different environments and different types of cases if you can, before you make your mind up whether or not you're actually going to want to work with them as well. And as I said, make sure that they have an understanding of the difference between normal standard mediumship and paranormal mediumship, because again, as I said, it is very, very different in great minds. I know, lovely. So there is a couple of points there as well, but as I said, I'd love to know your comments on this as well. Do you really think that using mediums are a great thing? It's like a no-brainer? What are we talking about, wasting people's time saying no? Or do you think, no, it's something I've never done, it's something I never will do? Do you like using equipment only? Is it something where you find you get more satisfaction? It's something that's easier to track, easier to record. Let me know. Use the comment section down below. I'd love to know your thoughts on this particular topic. So thank you so much, everybody. Thanks, Buzz. Do take care. And thank you to everybody who also going to be watching the replay on YouTube and on here, Facebook. Do take care, everybody. And thanks again for watching.